Hello and welcome to this tutorial. Today we're going to be designing a medal using Adobe Illustrator so that we can then put our own image into the medal a bit later and cut on the laser cutter. So we start by opening a new file. We're going to make it fairly small, something like about 12 by 12. Our medal is going to be about 10 by 10 centimeters. So we'll make a canvas, say 14 by 14 centimeters, and we just check through as we set up our new thing. It should be in RGB. That's very important for the laser cutter. So we've got a square image, and what we're going to start by doing is we're going to make something like the 50-cent piece, or a many-sided figure. So we go to the polygon tool, and with a radius of about 5, that's approximately right. We can change the number of sides. I'm going to stick with 10 on this occasion, and that gives us our 10-sided figure. We copy that because we're going to have a rim around the outside, and if I paste in place using the edit menu, it doesn't seem like anything's done, but with the select tool you see that there's actually two shapes, one directly on top of the other. If I then press the shift and option key as I drag, it'll move around that center. So just practice that. That takes a little bit of practice. Now I'm rounding off a little bit the insides of that inside curve. So just to take note of the way that you can actually hold on to that little toggle there. And we're going to put another circle inside that one. You notice that it's a white circle, and eventually we want to get rid of the white. We want everything to be, I guess, see-through. So we have now removed the fill, so there is now no fill colour, but you can still see the outside or the stroke. Now I need to move that into position. All this is a little bit tricky. I have difficulty with it myself. You see I've got the wrong one there, and you notice that that was a white shape. I'll eventually have to remove the fill from that. I have got hold of it now, and you need to move it around until you see that it is aligned exactly as you want it to. So study the middle very carefully. It takes a fair bit of practice to do that well. Now we've put that circle in the middle for the purpose of putting some text on it. I'm going to write Australia on this one, and I'm going to just adjust the size a little bit, where I'm going to be writing Australia a bit like a coin design or a medallion design. The text tool, you'll see the third one down, has a text on path, and that means that you can actually click on any shape, any line, and it will want to do the text on that line. So I've written Australia there. It's too small, so I want to adjust that, and for that I therefore need to find a bit more detail. So I go to the type character section so that I can enlarge the font a little bit. So 18 doesn't quite look big enough. Maybe 24 or thereabouts might be just right. It's all wonky, and we want to get that just right. So we can adjust the spacing. We can do various things along the way there, and we're going to try very hard to now align it. Again, I find this a little bit difficult to adjust. So you've got to have this in just the right place as you lock on and drag this into position. You can do this just by eye, but to be very, very professional, you've got to really play around and get the hang of dragging that into position. And what you'll notice is it's justified to the right, so we justify it to the middle, and then it's perfectly symmetrical. It's good if you can get it perfect. Now by double clicking on the text tool there, it does bring up some other options, and as long as you press the preview you can see what the options do. The rainbow is the better one, but you can see what happens with the skew or the ribbon or the staircase. They are different type effects. You can also put the text on the baseline, the ascender, the descender, or halfway along in the midpoint. So you decide on which of those you think looks best, and the spacing, you can further adjust the spacing here. In this case we go into the minus section because I want to spread that text out. You could change fonts, you could do all sorts of things if time permits, and that would be a good thing to do as well. So we're approaching the stage where we've got our basic design that could be cut out, just awaiting some sort of picture to go in the middle. But that's a job for another day. If we could get through the design, the cutout of our basic design, that would be good. Now what we need to do is we need to remove all the fill. We don't want to have any fill, even though it's on a white piece of paper. We remove all fill, but we actually want to have lines around our shapes. Now, around the outside, what we want to have is a red line, because the laser cutter interprets the red line as a cut line, and we want to have around everything else a blue line, because the laser cutter interprets that as a score line, or a line that cuts halfway through the material and etches deeply. So we're just going to put a red line around the outside, and that will cut the medallion out from its background. Lastly, we select it all, and we're going to change the size, or rather the thickness of the stroke, because the laser cutter requires us to have all cut lines or score lines at 0.001. So by changing the size to 0.001, it makes it very difficult to see. You can press Command Y and you get a different view that allows you to see the details. This is a frustrating feature of the laser cutter, but we're stuck with it.
Yeah, look, that's going to be another tough one. They always left at home. Always a good crowd there, and yeah, they get to play tomorrow night, and yeah, see how they go tomorrow night and see them in the next week. Do you reckon it will stay the way it is the back line at the moment with Matt Duffy coming on with the final 20? Oh, look, I have no idea. That's the job for Mary. I think we just got to keep focused on our combination, me, Gaz, Cam, and Hunty there. I thought we, like again, I say, I thought we went well today in attack.